Welcome, everyone. My name is Karen A. in Jerusalem. It is my pleasure and my honor to host the Afro-Euro Reco12 podcast. Reco12 is a family of recovery resources, sharing with you podcasts and different recordings of people who have recovered through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're a family and fellowship of people who suffer from all addictions and all afflictions and have found a solution and are living it with the help of God one day at a time. We invite you to join us. We invite you to learn from our experience, strength, and hope. And if you're new to Reco12 listening live or to recording, we're really happy to have you here. If you want to check out Reco12 and any of our recordings, you can go to Reco12.com. There are different recordings, whether the people there are sharing about AA, CA, Al-Anon, Codependence Anonymous, anorexia, bulimia, overspending. You're sure to find someone who you may identify with and who may give you hope in your own recovery journey. If you wish to contribute a seventh tradition, you can go to Reco12.com/support, and we accept PayPal or Venmo, and that helps us cover the cost of Zoom and technology, etc. Without further ado, I introduce you to Tobias. Tobias will introduce himself and share his experience, strength, and hope in recovery, and hopefully in his work, working with others, taking through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tobias.
Thanks, Karen. How much time I have, Karen?
So you could take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I'm not super strict about it.
Okay.
And I ask everyone on the line to jot down their questions. They could put them in the chat, and then we'll have Tobias answer them after he's done with his share. So please note down your questions.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, then, good morning, everyone. My name is Tobias, and I'm a recovered addict. And it's great to be with you all this morning and to share a little bit of my experience, because that's what I do today. I will share a little bit of my experience, how it was for me, the topic, we carry the message, not the addict or alcoholic, really came out of a conversation with one of my sponsees I had. And she was telling me about a few things people said to her in the meetings, what she have to do as a sponsor. And when I was hearing that, my question was, where actually does it say that in the book? Because that's really my guideline, especially chapter 7, working with others, what my responsibility as a sponsor is and what it's not. So, and I wanted to a little bit share about my experience as a sponsor and also as a sponsee, so the other way around, because that changed through the years since I've been in, and because I also had a change of sponsors, and so I learned different things about sponsorship in these years, and so there will be also a lot of chapter 7 talk today. I have a few passages I will read and sharing too, and because that's where I look at when I have a question or when I'm working with others. I found all the answers in chapter 7 for me. That's all I need to have, and my own experience. So we start with what is the message we carry? We said we carry the message. What is the message? To me, it's the message is that I can recover from a hopeless state of mind and body. Right? That's what the message to me is. It's just one part of the message, that I can recover. Otherwise, why should I work the steps if I don't have the chance to recover, right? And what actually recovered means is that I can recover from the symptoms of this illness, right? So so today I don't drink, I don't use, and I don't want to use, and I don't need to. So I have no excuse or alibi of doing that, right? So I have recovered from that insane idea that this time it would be different, right? The idea that I can control and enjoy my drinking and using is gone, because I know I can't. That's gone. I have recovered from that idea. That's one thing, what the message is, but also the message to me is that as a result of these steps, I will have a spiritual experience. That's also for me the message, right? This book and these steps is really it's a treasure map, and the treasure is you will have a relationship with God of your own understanding, right? And that's the message we carry, right? And when we look at chapter 7, it gives us really good guidelines what we do and what we not do, right? For example, on page 92, it says, tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree, right? So we share our own experience about this mental twist with the new guy, that he can identify with the thinking and the behavior, right? And so the mental twist for me is this insane idea that if I only mixed the whiskey with milk and drink it on a full stomach, it will not hurt me, right? That's the insane idea, right? And I can tell the sponsor a lot of my own experience from the past. What happens before I take that first drink? Because, as the books say, that's really the crux of the problem, right? What happens before I take that first one? And so I share from my own experience, right? And on the same page it says that begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. So because we start with we are not telling him life will be good all the time. We show him how hopeless the feature of the malady is, right? And that he can also get an understanding what the illness is, to concede that he is an addict or alcoholic, right? But it says also, but be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic or addict. Let him draw his own conclusion. So we gave him the chance to think it over, because it's not my responsibility as a sponsor to make him believe that he is an addict. This has come from himself, right? He has to realize that, I am like that. I am like the person in chapter 3 more about alcoholism. I can identify with the thinking and the behaviors. And then later it says, continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady, right? Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it. So, and so I really show him like how this illness works, because the main problem of the illness centers in the mind. So I show him I go with him to chapter 3, and we go through that, and he can identify with Fred and Jim, right? No cloud on the horizon. It was a perfect day, but he drank anyway. So, and I show him all these things to get him to understand that he's one of us, right? And the thing is, why I'm doing that is because I offer a solution, right? And it's a solution, right? It's not the solution, but it's a solution to that illness, right? And the thing is, it is not my responsibility if the sponsee is taking that or not, right? My job is to pass on the message. If somebody wants to receive it or not, that's out of my control, actually, right? And it says later on page 94 that suggests how important it is that he places the welfare of other people ahead of his own. That can also be a part of the message we carry, that the welfare of other people is very important. What I do, I try to teach my sponsees also that it's also important to balance that, to take time for yourself too, because that's why I'm doing all that stuff, that I can spend time with my family, or that I can spend time with my friends or wife or whatever it is. It all has to be balanced, because we addicts are going to the extremes and it can be everything. We go to the extremes. So this also has to be balanced, right? On page 95, which is a really important page, it gave us a warning, actually, that never talk down to an alcoholic from a moral or spiritual hilltop. And it gave us a suggestion afterwards, a really important direction. Simply lay out a kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. Show him how they work with you. So that's what I do, right? I share my experience, and I just say that's what I have done, and that's why I'm on that. That's why I'm here now, because I was doing that, and I show him that without telling him, you have to do that. I don't speak in that way to my sponsees. I just gave suggestions. I don't give advices. That's a big difference. So what I do as a sponsor, what my responsibility is that to share my experience, what I have done. So I gave it the same way I get it from my sponsor. That's what I do. And where my responsibility ends as a sponsor is it's out of my power or control if the sponsee is following my suggestions or not. Right? That's not my responsibility. And I learned that through experiences as a sponsor in my early days, because I was, I would not say it was a hard school of sponsorship, but it was very strictly in the beginning, in my first years. I gave you an example when was my first year, really, and I had a kind of sponsor who was like, if you call me 5 minutes too late, I will not answer the phone. For example, that was the kind of sponsorship I was growing up with. I can say for myself, for me, it was very helpful because I learned to learn some discipline, to call him on time. For me, it was very important. to do that, because it gives me also like a good routine every day, and that changed through the years. In the first time, I was doing the same thing, because but past experience showed that as I start to working within the sponsor I have now, it's a little bit more flexible. So for me, the willingness not just depends on that you call me on time. For me, more important is that I as a sponsor I can see that you are showing up, right? That you do the things I suggest you to do. That's what willingness is for me today. But I also like when I asking my sponsor, that's what I do. I, as a sponsee, I ask my sponsor when you have time to talk. It's not the other way around. So when I asked my sponsor when you have time, and he said, "Call me on that time," I call him on that time. Right? That's what I learned in the rooms, and so and I want to also talk about why I choose that topic is because there's also a lot of things you will hear in meetings which are not really a direct message from the book, which is more like an opinion, really. And because one of the things one of my sponsors heard in the meetings, one woman said to her that, yeah, you have to take care of your sponsee that she can go to a convention and find a hotel room. And I said, okay, that's interesting. Where it says that in the book, really. It doesn't say that. It says that I think it's on page 98 that the men or women who cry for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the one track. Yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it's not. It is not a matter of giving that is the question, but when and how to give. That often makes the difference between failure and success. And here's my favorite part, which is the really important sentence. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic or addict commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. Right? So, which means to me, it's not my job as a sponsor that you get a hotel room and can go to the convention. That's your responsibility. That's not my responsibility as a sponsor. Right? Which doesn't mean that I cannot be helpful to my sponsee, right? But it's not my job to be the nanny or to be the bankier, or that's not my job as a sponsor, really. Because what I teach my sponsors is that they have a good relationship with their higher power, because that's the important relationship to have, right? So if they need me, I am there, but it's not that kind of thing. You call me with every small thing you have, but if you need me, I am there, right? That's my responsibility as a sponsor, to be available to sponsees when they need me, right? But also, as I said in the beginning, that also has to be balanced, right? Because my time today is it really values to me, you know, and that's also what I learned the hard way. I'm not wasting time with people who cannot or will not, right? And the big book also talks about that we find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you, right? And it was really hard to me in the beginning for doing that, because I felt really responsible to the new guy. I really want them to have this, right? But I cannot force them. If they don't want it, I cannot do anything. I am powerless over that, right? I am powerless over if the guy is following my directions or not. I am powerless over that. And that's really a thing I learned by practicing step 12, by sponsoring a lot of people. And I'm still doing that today, because as the book says, it's vital to my own recovery. But I also learned to set boundaries, which was not an easy thing for me to do. I didn't really learn that before, but it's really important to do that. And on page 96, it also says on the bottom, he may be broke and homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance. But you should not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days, but be sure you use discretion. Be certain he will be welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connections, or shelter. Permit that and you only harm him. You will be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery. So that's what I mean when I was talking about that. It's important. It's not a matter of giving. It's the when and how to give, and how much, and this has to be balanced, because as it says, that it can happen that we aiding in his destruction rather than in his recovery. But it also says on page 97, never avoiding responsibilities, right? But be sure you're doing the right thing if you assume them, right? Important sentence afterwards. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act at once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the good Samaritan every day. If it need be, it says. Because it not really happens every day that my phone is ringing all the time. At the moment, I can say the sponsors I have at the moment are, I can say, in a good and safe place. They are sponsoring. They have sponsors by themselves. So it isn't that they have to call me every day because they in a good state, right? Which means they had a spiritual experience. They have a spiritual foundation. They have a good relationship with their higher power, which is the important thing. And so, yeah. And that's really the good thing about it, right? That I'm always really touched when I see that when one of my sponsors starts sponsoring by themselves. It's really, really nice to watch and to see how the fellowships grows around you, right? It always helps me to get out of my head when I have just a talk with a sponsor or a fellow on the phone, because you also can pass this message on by sharing your experience with not just with a sponsor, also with a fellow, sometimes on the phone, if you are helpful, right, by sharing your experience. And that's also an important thing I learned. I share my experience and not my own opinion. That's a big difference. If I just share my opinion, it will not really helpful, actually. And because I learned if I just stick to my own experience and what is in the big book. I cannot fail. I have everything here in this book. I need to. So I'd be careful really to share opinions in meetings, because there's a lot, confusing messages around sometimes. So I'd be careful with that. That's everything I got, I think. Thanks everybody for joining and listening, and hopefully you get something out of that, what I have said today, and it can be useful for your experience as a sponsor or sponsee. And I leave it there. God bless. Thanks.
Amen. Thank you, Tobias. I got so much out of that, and I'm sure everyone on the line did too. I jotted down some of my own questions. And really what I'm reading between the lines here is that you're really there to be a guide through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and this 12-step program. Nothing more and nothing less, with love, with tolerance, with compassion, with kindness. But I love that you're not looking to be their daddy, their cook, their housekeeper, their banker, their lawyer. And I know that many alcoholics, addicts struggle with codependency. The minute they take the booze out of their system or the drug out of their system, they're trying to fill that up with, quick friendships, quick relationships. And that's probably on the milder side of the people addictions, right? Were you always that way? Did you have to, did you kind of fall first before you got strong and mature in how you work with others? Or did you have some hiccups at first?
It really changed from the beginning. I can remember when I had my first sponsees, I was really not really. I was nervous actually, and not really. I would say the way I sponsored just changed over the years. Because as I said, I was doing that in the beginning, like the way I was getting it in the beginning. But sure, I had one sponsor who was really a young guy who had a few relapses when we start working. And what I was doing at the beginning, because I really didn't know it better, I was blaming myself that the guy has relapsed. So I was asking myself, did I something wrong, right? Did I miss something to tell him, cause that he relapsed? So, like you said, I was really in that kind of codependency. So I was thinking, maybe it was my fault that this guy relapsed. But in that case, my sponsor at that time was really helpful to me. He said, no, man, that's not your responsibility if the sponsee decided to go out and use again. And because if one addict or alcoholic decides to use or drink, you cannot do anything, because as the book says, it's beyond human aid. And I'm a human too. I'm not God as a sponsor. So if you decided to use, you will use, because the thought has already planted in your mind. And what I learned to deal with it better as I was doing the Koanon program, I was doing the steps in Koanon once upon a time, and it really helped me in that relationship with sponsees to really see where's my responsibility and where does my responsibility ends as a sponsor. It really helped me to not feel bad or ashamed when a sponsor failed or relapsed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and isn't that liberating? I don't know if you're a parent, but I am. But like,
higher power put you in my life, sponsee, child of mine that I birthed, friend, sibling, parent, but I'm not responsible for your decisions, you know? Isn't that massive? Like
Yeah,
I can do my best to help you. I can't be you. I can pray for you. I can be nice to you. But at the end of the day, you know, isn't that major?
yeah, it is. It really is. I see a question from Brindy in the chat.
Great. Brandy, right.
How can you give strong instructions without being controlling? So the thing here is, as I said in my share, when I have a talk with a sponsee, for example, and he talked to me about a problem he or she has, and I gave her or him a suggestion what to do. I gave her an instruction which comes from the big book and from my own experience. And but if I have done that, I'm not really calling after them. Did you do that? Do you have done that? That's because that's, as Brindy's question is, that will be controlling. So I'm not controlling my sponsees. It's also like you get a feeling when you're working with other people. And today I can say I have a trust in my sponsees that they're doing the right thing, and I can see that they are doing the right thing because they are happy, joyous, and free. But I'm not calling after that. I'm not calling my sponsees up on things. So I gave suggestions, and I leave it there, right? So because it's their responsibility to follow that. But if not, that's okay too. You will get a result anyway, right? Yeah, that's for me really the difference between giving just instructions and controlling. And the other thing is, when I'm controlling, I'm also playing God in other people's life. That's what I'm not doing. Yeah, I hope that answered the question, Brindy. Thanks.
I love what you said there, Tobias, about I trust my sponsees. Like that's major, right? Because, you know, yes, we contend with our selfishness, dishonesty, self-seeking, and fear every day, right? If we're serious about our program, I am. I know Tobias is. I know a lot of people on this line are, because I see Ron and Sasa, and I bet all of you guys are really focused. I don't see the rest of you, but I'm sure you're listening intently. We really want the freedom and the joy and the meaning that this lifestyle brings. I love that we're trusting our sponsees, right? Because they have a God, they have a brain, and it's just their decision to use it or not. With your permission, I'm also going to answer that question. The first thought I had, I don't know if I love my first thought, but I'll share it with you anyway, especially if, like me, you're a heavy codependent, is you actually have to care a little less. Like, chill out. Like, if they want to die, there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. And if they want to be a flake, there's nothing you could do about it. And it's like, all I'm here to do is what God wants of me. And what God wants of me is to take this great workbook and take people through the 12 steps. What God wants of me is to host this Afro-Euro podcast so I could bring recovery to more people in my time zone and then have a lot of other people listen to it recorded wherever they may be. That's my thing. What God wants of me is to work with Orthodox Jewish women who might not go to, mixed meetings or get the magic of the 12 steps out of their cultural enclave.
I'm just asking what God wants of me. So if I'm doing that with you, I'm not going to be very focused on you or controlling you. Because controlling you, like Tobias said, means I'm running the show. And if I'm no longer running the show, I'm a vessel. I'm passive. I'm letting God work through me. I'm not, you got to do this. You got to write your whole step. You got to call me on time. Now, I actually happen to have a sponsee who is not calling me on time and is trying to run the show. Who's been on my step 10 because I'm starting to get a little irritated. Can we do this? We're going to step 5 for half an hour. It's like, no, step 5 does not happen in half an hour, dear. And, if you want to know how it's done, I'll be the one to say it. So I'm praying on it. Probably I should let her go, and I have said to her, there's a way we do this. Only because I've been through it, not because I'm better, not because I'm pulling rank as a sponsor. But see, I don't control people when I'm a vessel. I'm here to help you recover. Doing what you do your way, you don't actually need a sponsor. You don't need me. And I certainly don't need to be the phone with someone who is wasting my time. You don't need to be on the phone with someone who's wasting your time. Many of us have kids, we have jobs, we have our own laundry to do, our own dishes to do, but we put all that aside to save someone who is drowning. Wouldn't you agree, Tobias? Like, you got a lot of stuff to do. We're all busy people. We're all respectable human beings. I'll put all that aside to save your life, but to waste my time, no way.
Yeah.
No way. I can declutter,
And thanks, Sasa. Yeah, I'm just a guide. I'm just a guide for the sponsee, right? And what I think on page 96, it's really clear on the top. It says, do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try it again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. You find it a waste of time to keep chasing on a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. And that's also my experience. Like you said, if you leave a person alone, maybe they come to realize that they cannot do the deal by their own, and then they are coming back. And so that's also what I'm doing as a sponsor. I leave the door open, right? So I've said, if you are ready, I'm there. We can start again, right? But yeah, that's what I learned really, to follow that direction. It sounds really harsh in the beginning, but I learned that's the right way to do it. Otherwise, I'm not helpful. In Koanon, you have a reading. It's called enabling. Otherwise, I enable the person rather than helping him, right? So yeah, that's yeah. If I have the instructions in chapter 7, that's all I really need to have, right? But I saw another question in the chat.
I just want to add to what you said, Tobias.
Yes, sure.
It's not just that they're not willing and able, and as the big book says, it's a waste of your time. I want to bring all y'all's attention to the fact that there is another drowning man or woman who may want to be saved. And if I'm, sitting on the phone with you, being compassionate, nice, talking to you, hearing about your narcissistic ex-husband, because I'm being so nice, I might be killing you, but I also might be killing another person who's ready. So I'm just a guide, but I want to add to that is that we're just guides for people who mean business, who are serious, because we can help those people and we can help them meet others. And that's the only requirement, right? The only requirement is the desire to stop drinking, but you got to play ball, right? You got to mean business. You got to be done. I remember when I came back into these rooms after a failed second marriage, I was done with verbally abusive relationships. Like, I was done.
I was ready to go to any lengths, and I was battered, and I'm battered and shattered, and then, those unfortunately are sometimes the best prospects. And like the big book says, pull up your bottom. I don't want you coming in, in shards and bits and pieces into my hands. But the only requirement is the person listen, take directions, and they have to want it. They have to want it. Sorry, you're going to take another question.
Yes. Thanks, Bundy, for that question. Because I experienced that too. So as a sponsor, how can you avoid putting sponsors on a pedestal, especially when they have great recovery, and treating them a bit as a higher power mentally? The trick here is to always, I can share from my own experience with my sponsor, that I have to remember myself that this guy is still an addict, even if he is recovered, but he is still an addict like you and me. He's not superior or anything like that. We are on the same road. Because if you, the danger thing about putting a sponsor on a pedestal is that he becomes your higher power. And the book says that so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence of God, we simply do not stop drinking. So the danger thing is that I make this person a god for me, and that can be very dangerous if you make the sponsor your higher power, because what are you doing when your sponsor relapsed? Who's your higher power then? Right.
Well, I love what you're saying there. It's really dangerous for you to make your sponsor a higher power. I apologize, I interrupted you. Go ahead and finish your sentence. I'll add on it.
All good. What helps me of not doing that is, first of all, like I said, my sponsor is still an addict, even if he is 10 years clean and sober. And he still has also life problems like me. The only difference is that he has more experience with the program. That's the only difference, right? So, and the other thing to avoid putting sponsors on the pedestal is that you have a good relationship with your higher power, because then you don't need to put people on a pedestal. I hope that helps, Wendy, with your question. Thanks.
I want to add something to that. You don't want to, as a sponsee, put your sponsor on the pedestal, because that could be really painful if they hurt you, if they say something not nice. Remember, these are spiritually sick people. If they relapse, like Tobias said. And I want to add something to that, Brandy, as well. It's really dangerous for a sponsor to play the role of God, right? I want to just take the question from the other angle. If I'm fixing your life, helping you, and meshed with you, involved in your every program, you're hooked up to me like an IV, it's really dangerous for the sponsor, because that's where they fell into their disease. That's where I fell into my disease. See, part of humility is that we have a new job. We are to ask ourselves, how can I be helpful? It's not helpful. It's not helpful for the sponsor to play God, and that's sort of an acting out for them. And I've dealt with both sponsees and sponsors who got into a lot of emotional hangover over that kind of behavior, over being devastated that they can't fix their sponsees, they can't this, when really the simple answer and the simple instructions laid at our feet is, walk away, take a break. You just can't be helpful. And it's no different. I really want my teenage daughter to get out of bed. It is, unacceptable to me that she's still sleeping at 11:50. What am I going to do? Pull her by her ponytail? Pour water on her head? Well, that will just catapult me into my disease. See, I'm the parent, slash sponsor. I have to pray for her. I have to think about different summertime activities, writing workshops, learn how to do makeup art, whatever. I have to help her. I got to put my money where my mouth is. Unfortunately, it's a lot of money where my mouth is, and I got to show her the clear-cut instructions for being a productive young adult. And if she wants to sleep her life, man, I do not like it. I just got to keep praying for her and keep being helpful for her and really work on myself, not just to shut up, but to really not be angry for her. Really say, I'm here to help her. I'm here to guide her. I'm here to model good behavior. And that's it. And we must not get angry, like the big book says. We must not get angry. Control is anger, right? Aren't you doing what I want you to do? Control is anger. We do not have the dubious luxury. We must smash the illusion that we are like other people. Okay, Ron had a question here.
Yes, I will go to the question from Ron, and then Brandon has also posed the question. So I will go through that one a little bit. And yet, I think it is a two-way road, two-way relationship, sponsee and sponsors. Because still today, I can also learn a lot from them too. It's not that that I know everything. So that's the thing I learned. I stay open-minded, and not teachable, but receiving. Right. So I listen to them, and sometimes they gave me a new perspective on things. Because as I said, that's why I'm putting not my sponsor on a pedestal, because he's still an addict. He can still can stuck in that madness sometimes. Not that long as it was before, but the sponsor can also be helped. I think it says that in the big book that actually sometimes he may be helping you more than you have helped him. And it sometimes can be that way, that that when I have a talk with a sponsee, that the sponsee helped me more than I have helped him in that conversation. So the other thing in the question is what you have learned throughout recovery. To me, it's actually that that's passing on your personal experience. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pass on my own experience, then the message from the book, and what my sponsor has taught me. That's the three things actually. What I am trying to do, and then I cannot fail. So I hope that answered the question, Ron. All right, cool. So I will come to the question to Brandon. I just will read it out. After working through the steps, do I continue to speak with my guide sponsor, or do I focus on my step 12 and stay focused on my own recovery by guiding others? You're doing both. It's not, I speak one time in the week with my sponsor. So I still use him as a guide when I have a question, but most of the time, I'm focused on my own program, on my recovery by working with others, doing my daily routines. That's the thing I just do automatically. But I still, but it's for me, it's like it's also like a secure place to know there is somebody I can call when I have a question. So my sponsor is still available for me as a guide when I need him. but it's not that thing in the beginning that I call him every day, or that I have every day a question for him. So, but I still use him as a guide, and especially when I have questions about when I'm working with others and they are in step 9 or something, then sometimes I have a question for him to ask, what can I do? What's the best thing to do? So yeah, it's both, Brandon. You still use him as a guide, but you stay more focused on your own recovery and by guiding others through the steps. Yeah, I hope that answered the question, Brandon. Thanks.
Yes, that's amazing. I was going to say the same thing, that you want to do both. You want to do both. I was working with others a lot and didn't have a sponsor for a while and just got an awesome sponsor who has what I want. And it's so critical to have the person, again, not as a rock and a redeemer, that's higher power, not as a therapist, but someone who could say, okay, I'm really agitated. I'm working my steps. I'm working with others. I'm agitated. And my sponsor said, how's your 10, 11, and 12? Are you stopping throughout the day? And I was doing step 10, but they were kind of like venting. And that sponsor, who was really experienced, you want to make sure it's someone who has more experience than you, that you want what they have, was really helped me. I was just able to identify. I thought it was just depression and misery. And I realized it's just, I'm undisciplined, I'm not doing the things I say I'm going to do. I'm not meeting on time. So then I get into unmanageability, and then that causes the bedevilment. But, a sponsor can guide you, help you pinpoint, is it your 10, 11, and 12? Is it your prayer? Do you need to meditate more? Do you need to do more service? You want that kind of maintenance plan. And yeah, working with others is the bright spot of our lives. We really do have to end. But was there another question in here? How do I access the recording after the meeting? Sister Sarada, oh, wow, I haven't seen it for so long. Yes, this will be on Reco12. I'll maybe type in the chat what fellowships you're in. On the Reco12 chat, the recording is posted later today. We sometimes put it in the Noodle chat or in the Afro-Euro chat. Just quickly let me know what chat you're in, and I will send this wonderful recording later. Some really good, clear instructions, Tobias, about being a big book guide here. Wonderful. Wonderful. Did we have one last question here?
I don't see anything.
Where's the question? Okay. So fine. With that, I will thank you, Tobias. Thank you for working with others. Please continue to do so as you create your own 100 or more. Everyone on this call, please join us. Please go create your 100 or more, because your higher power made you special, gave you a special mission, a special story. Even your special pain points and traumas, your dark past will be your greatest assets. And you can create your own 100 and help other people in ways that I can't, Tobias can't, Sister C can't, Sasa can't. You've got your own special thing. So join us in prayer. We'll have Tobias pray us out before we all spread our light and recovery into the world and keep working with those who really want it and are willing. Go for it, Tobias. Will you pray us out?
Yes. So let's have a moment of silence to remember the still suffering addict, alcoholic inside and outside of these rooms. And I will lead us out with a special prayer today. And it's called Faith Works. So let's have that moment now, and then I will pray us out with that. God, help me look beyond material things and place my faith in the unseen. For faith saves me from despair. For faith saves me from worry and care. For faith brings peace beyond all understanding. For faith brings me all the strength I need. For faith gives me a new vital power and a wonderful peace and serenity. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Don't forget to check out Reco12.com. This recording and all other recordings. Reco12 podcast, Noodle It Out with Nikki, the Big Book Roundtable study, and more can be found there. Thank you all.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.